and welcome to my studio. I'm Nicole and I have a little bit different of a video for you today. We're going to have a little bit of fun. I'm calling this video How to Be a Rebel Sewist, aka all the things I do that you should definitely not do. I thought this would be a little bit of a fun thing to do because I know that we all know, especially like when you're starting out sewing, we all know the rules of sewing. You're learning about how to do this and how to do that, and everybody has their own opinion on how certain things should be done, but generally there's a big understanding of the right way to do things, and it can be a little bit overwhelming because you want to do everything right and you want your garments to turn out good and you want to be learning new things and improving your skills, but sometimes those rules are just kind of stuffy and like they're important, but is your garment really going to be ruined if you don't follow them? No. So I thought it would be fun to share with you guys all of the ways that I am a rebel sewist. This is definitely I want to precursor this by saying, do as I say, not as I do. I'm not condoning you doing these things. I'm not saying that if you do them, that all your garments are going to turn out great and perfect. But what I am saying is that I do these things and my garments turn out fine. And I've been sewing for a long time and no one's ever really noticed, and I feel like my garments look very well made in general. And yeah, so this is just like what I do. That's really poor practicing, but I do it and it turns out fine anyways. So I thought it would be fun to share with you guys if you wanted to be a rebel sewist too, and just throw caution to the wind. Step number 1, how to be a rebel sewist. Don't use pins. Yes, I said it. Don't use pins. I'm actually serious on this one. Really, just stop using pins. It's totally unnecessary. I remember the first time that my mentor told me that he doesn't use his pins, and I am not going to be using pins in his studio either. And I was like, what do you mean? How can you sew without using pins? Guys, pins are so unnecessary. They're taking up so much of your time pinning and unpinning, and you gotta take them out while you sew, or you sew over them, which is equally as bad, or you're ironing over them and getting little bumps in there, or you're pinning whenever you're cutting and you're getting little ripples in your pattern. Just quit. Pins are not important. Let me tell you when I use a pin. I use a pin if I am needing 2 seams and I want to make sure that the seam line matches up. Like I'm sewing across a seam line and like a waistband, say, and I want the seam line. I might put a pin there. I might use some pins if I'm trying to match stripes and I want it to be perfect. I don't pin every single stripe. I'll just pin a couple key points and hope for the best. But other than that, guys, just hold it in place. Your fabric, generally, unless you're sewing something super slippy dippy, it's cut. They're the same pieces. They're just gonna stay there. They're not going nowhere. You don't need pins. If you're nervous about not using pins, maybe start with just like eliminating, like using less pins. Like just use one at the top and one at the bottom or something of your seam. Just trust me on this, guys. It will totally change your sewing game. You will be putting garments together so much quicker. Just let go of the pins. Number 2, quit following the instructions. I don't follow instructions unless it's like a garment that I've never made that type of garment before, something like complicated, like a coat or something. No instructions. Why? Because follow my instructions, which you should. I like to sew in the assembly style method, where I sew as many seams as I can at my sewing machine, and then I take everything to the iron and iron as many seams as I can, and then take all those back to the sewing machine instead of like seam, iron, seam, iron, seam, iron. If your iron is across the room like mine is, then that can get just exhausting and stupid. So, and I feel like letting yourself go from following the instructions will really challenge you to become more familiar with garment construction, and the more familiar you are, the less you really need the instructions. I keep the instructions open to check in if there's like some weirdness going on in the pattern that I'm not really sure about. I'll go take a peek at the instructions. Other than that, I just sew how I like to sew the order of things, because sometimes the pattern company that I'm sewing from might sew it a little bit differently than what I'm used to. So instead of trying to rack my brain and figuring out that new way of doing things, I just do it however I know to do it, and I'm saving myself a lot of time there. Which leads me to how to be a rebel sewist. Tip number 3. Y'all, I'm gonna get so much backlash on this. Press at the end. Ooh, this is bad. Don't do this. Don't do this. But sometimes I just sew a whole garment and I don't even touch that iron until the very end. Horrible, horrible, bad sewist, rebel. I have to admit, you don't get as flat of a seam if you're not pressing it open first and then closing it, stitching it together, or serging your seams, or however, if you're not pressing before and between each step, it's not as flat. But as long as you're giving it a good press at the end, that way is really good. No, okay. I cannot even tell you. Now I'm hardly at the iron, unless there's like a specific, like I need to turn in some corners for a pocket, or I got a V-neck that I want to get really nice. But I'm basically just ironing at the end these days because I am lazy. My iron is so far away. Sometimes it's not even on once I've started, and I'm just like, whatever, I'll turn it on, do it all at once at the end. Guys, it looks fine. It looks fine. It looks fine. Don't do that. Don't do what I just said. Tip number 4. Another tip that you should not follow: backstitch your darts. Yes, I backstitch my darts instead of like tying a little loop. Yes, backstitching can give you extra bulk at your dart point. Have I ever noticed any extra bulk in my dart point? No. And I backstitch because, you know, it's laziness. I'll fully 100% admit laziness. But, you know, I'm lazy sewist, I guess. I'm not a perfectionist. We're not going for perfection here. We're going for clean, clear wearability. Now, I know a bunch of old school sewists are going to have a lot of stuff to say about all these things, which is why I'm saying don't do them. Just don't do it. This is what I do, and it's fine. Tip number 5, 6, what are we on? I don't know. Don't follow the cutting layout in the pattern packet. Do this. Do not follow the cutting layout in the pattern envelope. This is why I don't even include cutting layouts in my patterns. I've never looked at a cutting layout once. You know why? Because they got a lot of extra room. Because they want to make it like really, like, they don't want you to accidentally but not buy enough fabric. So I can almost always get more bang for my buck by inventing my own cutting layout. I start with my biggest pieces first, squeeze in the smaller ones where I can, and then cut it out. It's fine. Don't follow the cutting layout. You're gonna use more of your fabric than you would if you just freestyled it. Tip number, again, I didn't number these, I just wrote them in a list, so I don't know why I'm saying number. Next tip on how to be a rebel sewist: don't pre-wash your fabric. Don't do this either. Pre-wash your fabric, but sometimes I don't pre-wash my fabric, and that's fine. I didn't pre-wash my fabric for my recent ginger jeans, and then I washed them, and they had a super nice, super snug fit, and I actually loved it. I am trying to be better at this, at pre-washing my fabric, because this really is a horrible habit, and it's gonna go really wrong one day. But there have been times, like with knits especially, where I just skip the pre-washing and the world does not fall apart. But I am trying to be better at this. So this Rebel Sewist characteristic is being phased out. Lastly, how to be a Rebel Sewist. Drink and eat at your sewing table while you're sewing. Because sometimes you need to stay hydrated, you know. There might be whiskey in here. You need to stay lubricated. You need snacks, you know, because if you're not eating at your sewing machine, you're going to forget to eat. So just like have some nuts and fruits that you can just grab. Have your cocktail, or if it's the daytime, have your tea, your coffee. I wouldn't keep it on your sewing table per se, although sometimes I do. I just set it off to the side. Never when I'm working on client stuff, I will have to say, because that is just a disaster waiting to happen. But when I'm working on stuff for myself, just sometimes I have a side table there that's not so close. But yeah, you know, you need sustenance whenever you're sitting down for the long haul. So, you know, drink, have some snacks, enjoy yourself. It's fun. It's sewing. It's supposed to be fun, you guys. Those are all of my tips for how to be a Rebel Sewist, aka things I do that you should definitely not do. Except you should quit using pins, and you should quit following the cutting instructions. Everything else, don't do that. Don't do any of those things. Except I do them, so it's fine. But don't do them. Don't do them. So thank you so much for joining me in this video today of how to be a Rebel Sewist. Am I forgetting something? Is there something that I need to know about to become even more of a Rebel Sewist that is generally a don't do it, but you do it and it's fine? Let me know in the comments below, because I obviously totally am pro Rebel sewing. Thank you so much for joining me today in the studio. I will see you next time. Did you like this video? Please let me know in the comments below. Do you have any other ideas of similar videos that I could do or that you would like to hear from me? Would you like me to elaborate more on any of this? Again, let me know in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss my next weekly stitch. Bye! And I feel like it... I have to sneeze, I think. So I keep the instructions open. So I am below you.